intimacy with Yemisi that night was mind-blowing for Femi. It felt like the best he had ever had in his entire life. He spent a large part of the night happily admiring Yemisi and feeling so excited within his soul. Once upon a time, in the heart of a bustling city in Nigeria, lived a very handsome man known as Femi. Femi was a very successful banker in one of the big banks in Nigeria. He was greatly admired by many people because of his very sharp mind, charm, and ability to draw in and close great business deals for his bank with ease. Femi seemed to have everything going on so well for him in his life. He had a very beautiful family, as well as a life of wealth and luxury many people only dreamed about. Femi's friends envied him, his colleagues respected him, and his family adored him. What many people didn't know, however, was that Femi, whom they all adored, had a very dirty, secret life. Despite the almost perfect life God blessed Femi with, he was not contented. He loved his wife so much, but the more Femi's riches grew, the more he felt a deep hunger for something more he couldn't explain. There was so much restlessness inside Femi's heart that it wasn't long before he started to stray. What started as an occasional flirting soon turned into full-blown affairs with various women for Femi. Each affair seemed harmless to him, as he saw it as just a brief escape and a game thrill. Over time, these affairs soon became a pattern for Femi. Femi would always try to convince himself after sleeping with the ladies that it didn't matter, so long as his wife and family weren't aware of it. No harm was being done. But with each betrayal, Femi sank deeper into a web of deceit and guilt, especially whenever he tries to hide his secret phone for his affairs under his car seat before stepping out of his car every day when he gets home. To Femi's family, he remained the loving and devoted husband, as he was so good with his games of hiding his indiscretions behind his success and charming outward character. One fateful night, after a very stressful day at work, Femi found himself in a bar he had never been to before. It was a dimly lit place located at the outskirts of the city, far from the usual places he goes to every other night. There, at a corner of the bar, Femi noticed a woman. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen before in his life. She was strikingly beautiful, with a beautiful hairdo. Her eyes were so lovely. Her smiles were so charming. And there was an intense air of mystery around her. The woman's name was Yemisi. There was something about Yemisi that seemed dangerously irresistible in Femi's eyes. This made it very hard for him to ignore her presence. So he approached her with full confidence. Femi and Yemisi exchanged a few words, and before long, they were laughing and talking as though they had known each other for years. Yemisi was unlike any other woman Femi had ever met. She seemed to understand him in a way no one else did. As they were chatting, Femi was happy. Yemisi fed Femi's ego. She made him feel so powerful and invisible. This made Femi so excited. When Yemisi asked Femi if he would love to come and know his place, Femi didn't think it twice before saying yes. In fact, he couldn't wait to be in the arms of this mysterious woman that was sending trailing waves all over his body. Intimacy with Yemisi that night was mind-blowing for Femi. It felt like the best he had ever had in his entire life. He spent a large part of the night happily admiring Yemisi and feeling so excited within his soul. When morning came, Femi excitedly left for his home. His wife Bola, who was awake all night, fearfully wondering what may have happened to him, ran to him. But Femi pushed her aside and went to his room. As Femi drove to work that morning, all he had in his head were thoughts of Yemisi. At work, he did nothing but think about Yemisi. At the close of work, he drove straight back to Yemisi's place, who was also waiting for him happily. Femi greatly enjoyed this sneaky, thrilling routine with Yemisi for straight 3 weeks. He was so happy. By the 4th week, Femi started getting tired and bored of his escapades with Yemisi. He was not used to getting attached to the ladies he cheated on his wife with. So, one morning, after his sleepover at Yemisi's place, Femi told Yemisi that he felt it was time they stopped the affair so he could concentrate on his family again. Yemisi looked him in the eyes and smiled. She muttered into his ears, "You're not going anywhere, Femi. You are all mine." Femi chuckled, thinking she was joking. "I am a family man and a very busy man, Yemisi. I can always stop by once in a while to have fun with you, but we need to take a little break," said Femi. Yemisi laughed out loud and told Femi that she was not joking when she told him he was all hers. Femi laughed, dipped his hands in his pockets, and threw some money at Yemisi and made for the door. But as he turned to leave, he felt an invisible force hold him in place. Panic surged through Femi as he realized his legs were glued to the ground. He quickly turned to Yemisi, stammering and asking her what was happening. Yemisi laughed and walked towards Femi and told him in a calm and very deadly voice, "You are mine, Femi. I'm not the other girls you use as you wish. Neither am I your wife you lie to every day and betray as you please. I've been watching you for a long time, Femi, and it's finally time for you to pay for all your sins." Femi's blood ran cold as the weight of Yemisi's words sank into his head. All efforts to move his legs proved abortive. This threw Femi into severe panic and fear. What Femi didn't know was that Yemisi was a very powerful witch. Yemisi had lived for centuries and feeds off the desires and weaknesses of men. She was drawn mostly to unfaithful men like Femi, whose hearts were filled with lust and betrayal. From that day onwards, Femi became Yemisi's official slave. Yemisi toyed with Femi as it pleases her. She manipulated his mind, drained him of all his will. She made Femi transfer most of his major assets to her. It was as if Femi was practically working for Yemisi's luxurious lifestyle now, as Yemisi was the one controlling his finances and swiping his debit cards at shopping malls the way it pleases her. Whenever Femi tried to fight Yemisi, Yemisi would start reminding him of all his sins and threatening to expose his atrocities to everyone who had high regards for him, especially his colleagues at work and his wife. Femi soon became a very big shadow of himself. He started losing weight drastically and was largely underperforming in his office. He was completely wrapped inside Yemisi's powers. He had absolutely no way out, and he had nobody to cry to. Meanwhile, back home, his wife Bola was starting to get really worried over his excessive character change. Worse off was that Femi doesn't sleep at home again. He only comes back in the mornings, dresses for work, and leaves the house without saying a word to Bola. If Bola tried confronting Femi, her husband, he would yell at her and warn her to stay out of his business. Bola had had few moments of suspicions in the past towards Femi, though Femi was a very discreet man who had a way of tricking her mind into believing she was overthinking things. But this particular one seemed really strange because Femi was losing so much weight. He was now always angry, always thinking, and always looking exhausted. One fateful day, one of Femi's best friends in his office invited Bola for a drink and asked Bola if all was well at home, as Femi, his friend, was losing so much weight and was underperforming greatly at work, and all efforts to ask him what the problem was had been proving abortive. He also told Bola that there were whispers at the office that Femi may get suspended or worse off sacked from work soon. Bola was so devastated over this news, so she made up her mind to do something about the situation in her own way and see if Femi will open up to her. When Femi returned home the following day from his usual sleepouts, Bola approached him, stared deep into his eyes with tears, and told him that she doesn't know what he was passing through, but he should always remember that her heart was home for him, and that no matter how bad whatever it was that was troubling him, that she would always stand by him, and she was ready to help him relieve it if he would open up to her, as his changed behavior was hurting their home and even him so much. Those words struck a deep chord inside Femi's heart, but he was so full of shame and guilt that he walked past his crying wife and said nothing to her. When Femi got to work that day, he kept thinking about Bola's words. So that evening, when he arrived Yemisi's home, he felt a bit different within him. He did his usual house chores for her, but felt extremely disgusted in his spirit while fulfilling Yemi's bedroom desires that night. Yemisi noticed the change in Femi and whispered to him in her soft but dangerous voice, "Stop fighting it, Femi. You belong to me. Always remember that." This time around, something different happened to Femi while Yemisi was talking. His wife's words to him that morning started re-echoing in his head. Her tear-filled eyes also started appearing in his memory. And suddenly, Femi snapped and shouted, "I don't belong to you, Yemisi. Don't ever say that again." He quickly left Yemisi's room while trembling in anger. Yemisi was shocked. She went after Femi and asked him to repeat what he had just said to her. Femi went ahead to repeat himself. He told Yemisi that he was a man and not her toy. He yelled so much at Yemisi with a tear-filled eyes and told Yemisi that he was a family man and will not allow her to continue to control him. Yemisi laughed hysterically at Femi and immediately tried to summon her dark magic to use and drain out life from Femi so as to put him back in place. But just as she was about to strike, Femi, fueled by the love in his wife's eyes that morning, whispered a prayer for forgiveness from God. A prayer for his wife's forgiveness, a prayer for his children's forgiveness, and a prayer for forgiveness from all who believed in him he let down with his disgusting lifestyle. While Femi poured out his heart in prayers, something extraordinary started happening. The room got filled with a very bright light that enveloped Femi immediately. Yemisi quickly recalled, screaming in fury, the power of Femi's prayers to God, the remorse he felt inside him, his genuine desire for forgiveness from his loved ones, and the love he felt in his wife's eyes that morning broke the dark spell that held him captive for months as he quickly ran away from Yemisi's home. Weak and shaken, Femi returned to his home fully. He fell on his knees before his wife Bola when he got home and confessed all he had done and all that had happened between Yemisi and him to his wife. Femi pleaded for forgiveness from his wife. He pleaded with her to give him a second chance to try and rebuild all that he had destroyed between them, as he had seen through his errors and would never ever betray her again. Bola was so shocked and heartbroken after listening to her husband Femi. With a tear-filled eyes, she forgave Femi and thanked God for saving Femi from the shackles of Yemisi. She, however, pleaded with Femi to allow her go somewhere away from him, to take time and purge herself of all she just heard, and also figure out if she still wanted to be with him genuinely after all that has happened or not. Femi understood her and obliged her request with a tear-filled eye, but begging her not to abandon him. Femi went ahead to put in effort to rebuild his broken life after his wife left home. He was so grateful to God for saving his life, and he never ever again in his life forgot the hard lesson he learned from what Yemisi did to him because of his disgusting womanizing lifestyle. This is the end of my story. The moral of this story is that infidelity is bad. Learn to be contented with what you have. Secondly, be careful who you share your body with and who you mess with. Life is deep, and not everybody you think are human are truly human. Thirdly, prayer fixes everything. Whenever you are in a space you don't know what to do, please call upon God. Fourthly, love is beautiful. If you find it, please adore it and cherish it. You will be surprised what love can do for you. Lastly, to err is human and to forgive is divine. Thank you for watching.